Today's topic is false flags. False flags. If I look tired and old, part of it is because I'm tired. The other part of it is, completely aside from the main topic of this video, is I had to begin taking a drug that's been prescribed to me for sleep, and it does a good job at helping me sleep, but it severely dries out my skin. And in drying out my skin, I swear it like ages me 5 to 10 years. When I discontinue using it, the skin dryness goes away and a lot of this goes away too. So, so it's a pro and a con. It's like, do I want to sleep? Because then if I don't sleep, I look like hell too. So, um, and for me, the way I look isn't as important as how I feel here. And when you don't sleep, it tends to magnify all the bad that's going on up here. So for the nonce, until certain things in my life kind of stabilize, I guess I'm going to stay on this prescription and I will have lizard skin. So, false flags. The term false flags, most people use it in a connotation as governments and military actions. However, even small even small groups, activism groups, can engage in false flag activities. And the whole reason to engage in these activities is twofold. Um, the first can be to generate income. Well, let me take that back. The first and foremost reason to engage in a false flag activity is to create the desired response in your membership or a group of people. You're trying to engender a specific, usually emotional response in them. And in doing so, now I'll put this as number two, that can generate income. It can generate a lot of kind of, it can generate a communal response, i.e., like in a protest kind of thing. But it can also generate income because people are usually happy to donate to a cause. And I'm not going to get into specifics, but not long ago I was embroiled in some drama, and I've since deleted a lot of those videos, mainly because I was accused of I was a I was accused of being manipulative, that the only reason why I had inserted myself into this was to be manipulative, and that was not the reason. But if I'm going to be accused of being manipulative, then not going to come to somebody's I'm not going to insert myself into somebody else's issues and come to their defense publicly. I don't wish them any ill will, but not going to defend them anymore, because even my defense of them was labeled to be manipulative. So be it. But that's neither here nor there. The false flag thing. Ironically, even after I had extricated myself from this situation, I had a discussion with another friend of mine who actually is a real friend and who is with who who was part of that circle, and he said something to me that was told to him, and it just completely solidified everything that I had suspected, everything that I suspected, the ulterior motives for certain people's changes in behavior and the way that they reacted to a very specific instance. And here's the thing, I don't have a problem if people want to stand up and they want to try to call out government corruption or whatever. But be honest about it. Don't don't structure don't structure your actions in such a way that at least 50% of the reason why you're doing things that specific way is because you're trying to get your followers or people who are sympathetic to you stirred up so that they will react the way you want them to react. That's where I have a problem, because that's no different than governments. Gulf of Tonkin, for instance, the American the American public didn't want to get into the Vietnam War. We didn't want to. It wasn't a popular war. So, and I know some people will say it's conspiracy theory, but now what's come out now is that the US government purposefully took some actions which led to a tragic circumstance which made the United States entering into the Vietnam conflict more popular. It was a false flag. It was a tool of manipulation. Manipul became a propaganda tool. All I'm trying to say is that these false flags, they don't they don't just happen on a grand scale. They happen on a smaller scale too. They do. They do. And but I see it for what it is now. But it's not my job. I've tried. Take that back. I've tried to point it out to people, and all I've gotten for my trouble is more trouble. So I have extricated myself. I no longer live in that world, anyways. I am no longer associated with those people. I'm never ever in the future going to be associated with those people. My life is going somewhere else. My life is somewhere else. And a lot of times people do not like to give up their idols. It's difficult. It is difficult. I went through that. I went through that with my relationship with David Ahmed. I had I had a specific I had a specific view, belief of who I thought he was. And then I got faced with the reality of who he really is. And I I clung to the false image for a while until it was just it just became completely untenable. And it's devastating. It's devastating. There's a bit of cognitive dissonance that happens there, because when you see through one of these things, whether it's a person that you had a lot of faith in and you find out that they're completely different to who they are, or you realize that this was a false flag and that you had believed in it, but now you can see it for what it is, it's hard, because now your worldview and your belief system is challenged. And it can be quite jarring for some people. And some people can face it. Some people can absorb the information and absorb the grief that comes with it, and others just will not. They will not. They're too attached to that worldview and that belief system, or that belief in that person or that organization, that they're almost like little children that are sitting there with their fingers stuck in their ears going la 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 la, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. And if that's, you can't reason with somebody who's, that's the way they have a discussion. So false flags, just interesting that this friend of mine, that one sentence that he said to me, one sentence that he said to me, that someone else had said something to him, it just, all the pieces snapped. All the pieces had pretty much snapped into place, but it was like the the super glue that cemented it together. You know, the, like in the Lego movie, the Krazzle or whatever, crazy glue, Krazzle. Everything. It ain't coming apart now. I can see it. So false flags. You gotta. This is why. This is why you have to have an open mind and you have to question everything. This is why, because people have motives well beyond anything that you could possibly imagine. And very often, what they're, the words that are coming out of their mouths do not match at all what is going on in here. Actions, look at their actions, not words. Actions. Do their actions make logical sense? And if the answer is no, then possibly Occam's razor applies, which is, majority of the time, the simplest explanation is the most accurate. So there you go. Peace out, people. Stay frosty.